Well, on that note, if you really love jiu-jitsu as much as you say you do, and if you really want to be training this for the rest of your life, as you claim, start taking care of your fucking bodies, man.
Exactly.
That's
Take care of yourself and you'll last way longer than you think.
Just did like, what, half an hour maybe?
Yeah.
Of jiu-jitsu training here.
Yeah, good
so
45 minutes.
Yeah, I know. We weren't kidding when we said that physio Chris Krammer is really into jiu-jitsu right now. And Minju, I've been training jiu-jitsu for close to 14 years now. And I'm currently a purple belt. Don't ask why I'm still a purple belt. You know, because of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, this is another episode of Krammer Talks Physio.
Yep.
With very small Minju.
No, include yourself. You facilitate, it's important.
Oh, I know, yeah. So today we're gonna dive in deep with the subject that's related to Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, just because within our circles there are a lot of people training Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, BJJ for short.
Exactly.
And because one thing that I tend to see, because I've been around these Jiu-jitsu practitioners for a long time, so what I tend to see are a lot of lingering issues, right? Because we used to make a joke that you can easily spot who's been training jiu-jitsu for a long time by the way they do jumping jacks.
Gotcha.
Right? They're not going to be doing one of these jumps. They're going to be like, because the shoulder and the neck is also fucked up. You know?
Exactly.
So I've been asking some of my teammates about what's been bugging them. And what are some of the stuff we can do to address those issues. I know we're not going to be able to give, again, exactly why for that particular person, but let's just talk about the subject more in general, right? Yeah, so what's your own experience with training jiu-jitsu so far?
So far, just having my butt handed to me a lot and learning the fundamentals, like getting your groundwork down, knowing exactly where you should be, and more importantly, where you shouldn't be. A lot of the time is a really big one to learn from. And keeping the breathing going throughout that whole thing. Like, don't get too caught in your neck. Like, remember to get into your belly breathing and hold on to the breath. Like, don't hold your breath when things are getting hairy. Like, keep going. Find a way out of it, like think rationally, keep calm. Yeah,
good call. There was one point I had you in side control, and then I was just hearing you're like, I was like, relax, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, so from an injury standpoint, can you already tell why some of these lingering issues might be an issue?
Definitely.
For a lot of long-term players.
Yeah, so anytime there's chronic stuff and it's lingering, it's not going away, a couple key things to like hone in on if you haven't already addressed them is training the joint through a full range of motion. Because if you're always living in a guard position and you never actually get a chance to train your elbow out in an extended position, it's gonna have that tissue bias towards staying here. And if you're trying to stay there and be protected, you've got all this work keeping you tight. And the other guy's objective, obviously, is to pull your arm out as straight as possible. So you're fighting him the entire time. And if your body hits kind of oh shit mode, like it knows that it's not going to get controlled and suddenly you're going beyond your capacity, it's a very quick point where the muscle, like the contractile tissue, is going to want to contract. The ligaments won't be able to keep up with that, or they won't be able to transmit the force through the joint. So you end up with excess joint strain in a particularly high nervous system environment, which plays into the second part of things, is whenever you see like chronic patterns of pain and it's lingering and it comes up with specific activities or postures, there's usually an emotional component to it. So something significant happened, like let's say you lost a competition by armbar and your elbow's been hurting anytime you go anywhere close to extension. Some part of your brain is remembering that experience and saying, like, we haven't learned from this, we don't know how to defend ourselves adequately yet, so we're gonna give you pain until you learn from that to protect yourself better. Like, even after like the tissues have all healed, there might be a little bit of residual inflammation, but the bigger component is that your nervous system still feels danger there, and pain is, like, not all the time, but oftentimes an indicator that the brain is perceiving risk or danger in a specific posture. And then you want to like get into that posture very specifically, see how you're achieving that. Like, are you getting there of your own will, or is it that you have to like force your hand there, like with your other hand in mobility training? Do you have strength there? Like, can you do a full range bicep curl? Can you pronate and supinate with the arm in different positions? And then build out from there. And you can also begin to look at like elsewhere in the chain is like, okay, if you have full range of the elbow and you've still got elbow pain, it's likely not an elbow problem. You either want to look down at the wrist and see how you're moving there, or how tight your hand is from all the grip work that jiu-jitsu guys are doing, or you want to begin looking up the chain, because elbows kind of get caught in the middle.
Gotcha. All right, so basically the elbow is simply the joint that exhibit the symptoms the most prominently.
Exactly.
All right, but so it's I guess it ties back to a jiu-jitsu principle too, right? Because if you're gonna fuck up attack a joint, you need to immobilize, the joint that's above it and the joint that's below it.
Exactly. A really good principle for both jiu-jitsu and physio is degrees of freedom. So a degree of freedom is any possible motion at a joint, and our shoulders have the greatest amount in the body. So obviously if you have a very mobile shoulder and you've, like, say, locked down their elbow well, but their shoulder is still free, they're gonna be able to find a way to at least put that elbow under less risk and then get the rest of themselves out of the scenario. So if you're freezing degrees of freedom at the shoulder, either putting it in a position where it feels inhibited or weak, then the elbow has that much less chance to go anywhere. And that's where you get referred pain from the shoulder to the elbow, is it's actually the shoulder having been like locked up in a protective position, or like, say the lat it inserts high up in the armpit area, and its job is to pull our arms in tight. So if it's chronically pulling, it has fascial attachments all the way in at the inner elbow. So you think of this massive muscle here that's chronically overactive and working hard to keep you protected. It's eventually gonna put a lot of strain on the elbow here. So even if you're doing all your range of motion work, you're not addressing the larger driver of why that elbow has so much tension in it.
Okay, yeah. So why is the body designed that way? It seems like the body is designed to fuck you over. What the hell, man?
It's the opposite of that. Because you can survive without an arm. It's like, it's not great, it's suboptimal, but it's way more important for you to keep the center of your system intact, because all our vital stuff is through the middle. So you got your lungs, your heart, etc. The neck is particularly important. It literally keeps our head on our shoulders, and that's where you're breathing from. So the body will sacrifice most other things in like a life or death like kind of scenario, and jiu-jitsu simulates that in a controlled environment, but it's still gonna be very much guard my neck right away, make sure this guy can't get in here, because if he gets this stuff, I'm done. But he can break my arm, sure, and I might still be able to get out of that fight or find a way to win.
Yeah, there are examples of that.
Yeah.
Broken arm still wins the fight.
Exactly. And you'll heal it like in other sports, like football guys who played like, what's the, like not Grey Cup, but main football one.
Oh, man, you're so Canadian. Grey Cup,
Exactly.
right? I mean, for the
Super Bowl. There we go.
There
Super
you go.
Bowl.
For all the non-Canadian people, the Grey Cup is the Canadian Football League super version of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so you'll get like the football guys playing a Super Bowl on a broken femur. And it's like, okay, the body prioritized winning that game because it felt that that was more important. It's not recommended by any means, but the body can do it. And then there's lots of like degrees of that as well. Like you can get through your day with a tight shoulder. You can get through your day with like a sore foot or a sore ankle if it's meaningful or important enough for you.
Gotcha. All right, yeah. I mean, I guess because this topic, obviously, we can go all over the place. We could be talking about it for days, and we still wouldn't be able to cover everything.
Exactly.
So why don't we get more specific? Because I was again asking some people about their primary concerns, and then one thing that came up pertaining to our discussion today is specifically the ligament in the elbow that goes to the forearm, right? So there's a couple of people that mentioned that. So how do you distinguish being, hey, is it from over gripping in the gi? Or is it because of a previous injury in a competition or during training, and now your body is being overly protective? How do you know?
Exactly. Some of the easy ways to get into it is seeing whether the gripping motion causes you pain outside of jiu-jitsu. Like if you're holding onto a dumbbell and doing like a forearm pronation, supination kind of thing, or if it hurts during bicep curls, then you know there's at least a grip component to it and the tension is feeding through the hand up into the elbow. But if it's only during a roll or only during specific movements, like let's say a row or a pull-up, then you might want to look at something closer to the shoulder or even into the lat like we were talking about earlier. So it's about specificity and then trying to nail down, like, is it only with muscle contraction that it bothers you, or is it with passive movement as well? Like if you're just taking it through a basic range of motion, or you have a buddy take it through you, if it's still hurting at both times, then you'd want to look more at the specific joint itself, like there's potentially damaged or inflamed tissue in there. Other times, if it's not bothering you, then you know there's something in the kinetic chain that's just feeding pain or tension to the elbow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense, really. Yeah. So for the ones that asked me this question, you can probably to try to see if it's one or the other. I mean, that's always a good first step, right?
Exactly.
Nice. And because again, in the jiu-jitsu circle, we hate physios who just tell us, hey, the best way to deal with it is to stop training.
Yeah,
right.
Like, don't stop training.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rehab.
So if it's gonna be like an over-gripping, overuse type of thing, because a lot of people train the gi, right?
Yep.
Then instead of just telling them stop, grabbing the gi, what would be some realistic ways to start getting better and feel better?
Starting to take care of the hands better. Like there's some simple muscle massages you can do. Like a lot of guys, like our thumb is so important for grip for us that all the tissues through like the inside portion of the hand here. So if you're taking a look at that, anything in there, you can get in on that with a thumb and just press on it. And a really good sign that your hand is overly tight is it's going to refer all the way through the backside or front side of your palm. It'll feel almost a little bit electric, and it may travel as far up as that ligament we're talking about in the elbow. And a lot of it is that we have a lot of important nerves that find their end point in that region of the hand. So not only is it like a motor control thing, it's a sensory thing too. So getting in there will help relax some of the hand tissues. Like some guys will roll their feet like after snowboarding or after doing a lot of weight training stuff. Same thing can be done to the hand, is like just start working through all that tight tissue and just get the bones moving again. Because anytime you're gripping so hard, everything's locking itself in place, and that's gonna refer excess tension up the arm. And then the other way to approach it is, because you're always gripping so hard this way, grab some of those finger spreader things, or even just resist you against your own hand and try and extend as hard as you can.
So and if finger,
yeah, if that feels really weak, then you've got to start working there, because everything that extends our hand sits on the opposite side of the forearm, and our hands are relatively stronger in a flexed position anyways. It's just how the anatomy is built. We're much more a pulling creature than we are a punching or a pushing creature. So trying to balance out by getting into the backside of the arm with like wrist extension stuff, finger extension, working on each individual finger, seeing how much control you have, that sort of thing.
Oh man, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Or you could just train no gi.
That too.
Oh man.
Actually, that's a totally viable treatment option too, is if you're training a lot of gi all the time and your hands are getting overworked, just mix it up a little bit. You can still train your jiu-jitsu, but you want to like switch up the environment so that you're broad hand gripping or doing a lot more no gi stuff, just to give it a specific rest.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I just thought of something interesting. What would be the opposite of that? What would be something that a no gi player tends to do a lot, and then if he wants to take a little break, he should be doing gi?
Oh,
I can't think of anything.
Well, no-gi is so scrambly, and it's a lot more hectic, so you don't have as much time to figure out exactly where your postures are at before you're into the next one right away. I'm sure people way better than me are going like, no, I can tell exactly where I'm at in my scramble. And like, true, but slow yourself down, like train more gi and pay very specific attention to how you're loading your body. Because the gi is gonna force you to slow down anyways with friction and grip and so forth. Taking yourself to the slower end of that spectrum.
Gotcha. So I guess a good way to put it would be, if you have an injury that's preventing you from being explosive,
exactly,
or being scrambly, then maybe take a little break and train the gi and slow everything down. Maybe.
Take the time to slow down, make it almost more meditative, like figure out where you're exploding from. And if you find that in the gi you're also trying to explode from the area that's giving you pain in no gi, then you have a chance to rework that and figure out like, can I load my hip differently? Can I use my leg in a different way?
Cool. Yeah, dude, I think this has been a really productive conversation. I learned a lot.
Fantastic.
Hope you did as well. But I want to end this by going on a little rant.
Yep,
I think,
go for it.
Yeah, it's so weird. I think it's because jiu-jitsu, it's become so popular that not only athletes are doing it, it's the everyday Joe and everything, right? So I think they don't have the mindset, the mentality to say, hey, I need to take care of my body as well. It's usually like, oh, I've done my workout, jiu-jitsu, right? I just trained jiu-jitsu. Now what are you talking about? Now I gotta massage this, I gotta do this rehab, I gotta do this. No, jiu-jitsu is already my workout. Yeah. And I think because of that mindset, then a lot of the injuries, when it happens, it almost like they just accept it. They're like, okay, you know what? I can't do jiu-jitsu anymore because I'm hurt. And
it becomes part of the culture.
Yeah, but it's because they're not treating their body with the respect that it really deserves.
Exactly.
That's how I feel. I don't know. Do you tend to see that as well?
I see it across all sports. Like jiu-jitsu is a very good example currently because it's so much rougher on our bodies than say going for a run is. But you could view them more as skills than as like a specific workout. Like jiu-jitsu, you're learning the skill of defending yourself and then attacking somebody somebody else. In running, you're learning the skill of efficiency, carrying your body weight over distance effectively. But there's a lot of body work or like body maintenance, repair, strengthening, like actual training is getting in on the specifics of where your system might need to be brought up a little bit so that it can tolerate learning the skill more effectively without getting beat up.
All right. Well, on that note, if you really love jiu-jitsu as much as you say you do, and if you really want to be training this for the rest of your life, as you claim, start taking care of your fucking bodies, man.
Exactly.
That's
Take
all I have
care
to
of
say.
yourself and you'll last way longer than you think.
All right. Train safe, have fun, and let's all get better, guys. All right.
Absolutely.
And next time we'll come back with another topic and more Krammer Talks Physio with Minju.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
Oh, sweet.
I think this is a good one.